This room is out of bond. Stop questioning me. Do you hear me now?
Ethan, just stop. You have to tell me why I should not enter this room.
Don't ever question my order. Moon.
Ethan, what have you done to my child?
Every night, at exactly to 17 a.m., Ethan knelt. He did not pray in church. He did not kneel beside his bed. He did not bow his head before meals or whisper gratitude to the sky. But at 2:17 a.m., without fail, he rose from bed, walked barefoot through the dark corridor of his own house, unlocked a reinforced door at the far end of the hallway, stepped into a room no sunlight had ever touched, removed his shoes, lowered himself carefully to the floor, and bowed his head before the dead. Ada was awake the first night she heard it. Sleep had been avoiding her since the last pregnancy failed. Her body felt hollow, like a house after a fire standing, but ruined inside. She lay on her side, one hand resting on her stomach, staring at shadows on the ceiling when the sound came. A soft metallic click, slow footsteps. Then silence, so deep it felt deliberate. And then the kneel. Not a stumble. Not exhaustion. A conscious, practiced act. Ada held her breath. From the bedroom, she heard Ethan murmur words she could not make out. His voice was low, steady, almost reverent. Not prayer. Not grief. Gratitude. Her chest tightened. When he returned to bed minutes later, his skin was cold. His breathing took too long to slow. Ada pretended to sleep, because silence had always been her shield. Silence kept peace. Silence kept men calm. Silence kept marriages intact. That was what she had been taught. By morning, Ethan was flawless again. Tailored suit. Polished shoes. The scent of expensive cologne and control. He kissed her forehead lightly.
You didn't sleep, Ada?
I did.
It was their first lie of the day. The house was new. To new. Purchased outright. No mortgage. No negotiations. Large enough to echo when Ada walked alone. Ethan called it a blessing. He never said from where. The money had arrived the way storms did suddenly, violently, without explanation. 1 year, they were budgeting groceries. The next, Ethan was wiring six-figure sums. Without blinking, cars appeared. Furniture changed. Friends changed. The men Ethan spoke to had firm handshakes and eyes that never lingered on Ada's face. She asked once, only once, "What do you do now?" Ethan closed his laptop calmly. "I handle difficult things." For who? For people who prefer results. She waited for a smile. It never came. That was when the room changed. What had once been a spare bedroom slowly transformed. Renovations Ethan handled himself. Thicker walls, a reinforced door, a lock that clicked differently from the rest. The air around it carried a faint scent chemical, metallic, layered with incense, that never quite masked it. "This room is off limits," Ethan said one evening, not unkindly. "Promise me." Ada promised. When Ada became pregnant again, hope returned cautiously, like an animal sniffing for danger. She moved carefully. Ate carefully. Loved carefully. She imagined a child filling the echoing house with noise, imagined the locked door losing its importance. But Ethan changed. He touched her less, spoke less, spent longer nights in the room. 10 weeks in, she woke to pain sharp enough to steal her breath. Blood soaked the sheets. The hospital lights were too bright. The doctor spoke gently. Sometimes there's no reason. Ethan nodded once when she told him. That same week, a large deposit appeared in his account. Ada notes. She said nothing. Silence. She reminded herself. Keeps home standing. The second pregnancy came faster than expected. This time, Ada told no one, not even Ethan. She waited, watched, counted nights. She began to notice patterns her heart wished her mind would ignore. Every night Ethan entered the room, he removed his shoes. Every night, he knelt in the same place. Once, standing outside the door, Ada heard him whisper, "I haven't failed you." The second miscarriage came with more pain, more blood, more emptiness. Ethan did not come to the hospital. That night, Ada understood something ancient and terrible. Her body was reacting to what lived in the house. Ada began to listen. At 2:17 a.m., the kneel continued. Money changed Ethan before it changed their life. It didn't make him loud or reckless, the way sudden wealth did to some men. It made him quiet, precise, careful with words, careful with movements, careful with people. He stopped explaining himself, not because he couldn't, but because he no longer felt the need to. Ada noticed it in small ways first. The way he now paused before answering simple questions. The way his phone never left his hand, yet never rang in her presence. The way unfamiliar names appeared on envelopes and disappeared again. The house filled with expensive things that carried no joy, furniture that felt staged, art that meant nothing. A dining table meant for gatherings that never happened. Ethan said, "We're just private now." Adanadaj. The men he met with never came inside. They stayed in cars with tinted windows, engines running. Ethan would step outside, speak briefly, nod once, and return with a calm that unsettled her more than anger ever could. One afternoon, Ada followed him to the window and watched as he shook hands with a man who smiled without warmth. The handshake lingered a second too long, fingers squeezing like a reminder. When Ethan came back inside, Ada asked casually, "Friends from work?" Ethan didn't answer immediately. He removed his watch, set it down carefully, and said, "People don't stay friends in my line of work." That should have frightened her. Instead, she said nothing. Ethan cleaned obsessively after each visit. He washed his hands longer than necessary. He scrubbed beneath his nails. Sometimes, he stood at the sink staring at his reflection, as if making sure he was still there. Once, Ada asked gently, "Are you okay?" Ethan dried his hands slowly. "I'm doing what I have to do." "For who?" "For us." That word us felt heavier than comfort. Ada's fourth pregnancy lingered in her mind like an unanswered prayer. She dreamed of corridors without doors, of rooms filled with whispers she couldn't understand, of kneeling men whose faces she never saw. Each dream ended the same way, with silence swallowing sound. One night, Ethan came out of the room later than usual. It was nearly 3 a.m. when he returned to bed, his breathing uneven, his shirt damp with sweat. Ada pretended to sleep, but felt the weight of him beside her, the way one feels a storm pass too close. The next morning, she woke to the sound of retching. Ethan was bent over the sink, vomiting violently. His hands shook as he rinsed his mouth. His eyes were, "You're sick," Ada said. "I'm fine." "You should see a doctor." He looked at her, then really looked. Doctors ask questions. That was when Ada understood something else. Whatever Ethan was involved in did not allow witnesses. Later that day, a transfer hit their account larger than any before. Ada stared at the numbers until they blurred. Her body reacted before her mind could. Nausea, dizziness, a sudden heaviness low in her abdomen. Like grief settling early. That night, she bled again. Not a miscarriage this time, just a warning. The doctor called it hormonal irregularity. Ada called it a message. She began noticing the ledger Ethan carried everywhere now, a thin black notebook he never let out of reach. She noticed the way he avoided mirrors after leaving the room. She noticed how his kneeling spot was always the same, as though something waited there specifically for him. Once, standing outside the door, she pressed her palm against the cold metal. Her chest tightened. Her stomach twisted. She pulled her band burned. Ethan noticed and began to panic, but was rest assured that she obeys whatever he says. Late one evening, she overheard Ethan on the phone. "It's been handled," he said calmly. "Yes. No complications." Then, quieter. "She doesn't know." The words struck harder than any confession. When he turned and saw her in the hallway, something flickered across his face, fear, maybe. Or calculation. "Did you hear anything?" asked. "Just your voice," Ada said. He studied her, then nodded. Good. That night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., Ethan knelt longer than ever. Ada did not sleep again. Ada did not sleep again. Now, her mind went to that door Ethan had warned her about. Her body knew before her mind accepted it. One night, she followed him close enough to hear his whisper. I did what you asked. I kept my end. Remember me. Ada froze. Ada kept wondering what the problem is and what she isn't guessing right. She remembered all the pregnancy she lost and his unbothered Ethan was. While Ethan was away, Ada said she must open the locked room this time around. Ada opened it, and everywhere smelled of dead bodies. Dead bodies litter right and left. Then by the side, she saw a wardrobe. Names, dates, payments. This wasn't madness. It was business. She came out as outside, behind the house, on the road Ethan avoided. Ada stumbled barefoot and heavily pregnant into the night. Under tarps and dim lights, vans unloaded bodies like cargo. She dropped to her knees. Unknown to her, Aaron sensed everything and came straight to that place. Ada knelt down crying bitterly. This was the money. This was...
Ethan! So our children was the exchange. These dead bodies were your God, Ethan! With Ethan! You're so wicked! I hate you and hate your wealth!
Get money, or do you want to suffer? Yes! Yes, I exchanged my children for my wealth.
You want to be wealthy, and gradually things will come into place, not exchanging my children.
The police came and got Ethan arrested and took him away into their van.